name's John McNally. I'm the MP for Falkirk, and I was asked to maybe give some recollections of the time that I worked in Cumbernauld Town Centre. Well, it was a very original state-of-the-art building. Some people regarded it as a latter-day Leonardo da Vinci type building where the cars and all the traffic were underneath the main building above where the people did their shopping, did go about their own daily affairs, and to a large extent that was quite true. Others thought it was a kind of dystopian type of building that looked architecturally wrong, out of place. So there was all sorts of different views in it. But at the time, it was a different kind of place. It was new, it was exciting, and a joy to actually go and working at the time. Well, I worked with a hairdressing business called Retson's, which was in the town centre, and that had both salons, male and female, separate, huge salon, but in a great locality, which we could get out and walk along across a bridge to a fish and chip shop, which was always a delight to go in. As a young boy of 15 or 16, and I think it was 1966, 67, the building actually became opened up to the public and to businesses. Yeah, it was an exciting time. Well, it used to be, one of my jobs was to, there was a service lift. So my job was to take towels, the wet towels from the salons, take them along the lift. The service lift would go down, and I'd take them into the car of my boss. Then they would take them through to an area, I think it was in Denny, where they had a big drying house. They washed the towels, cleaned them, very, very hygienic, very efficiently, the way the whole thing was done. But occasionally you could push a button and the lift would stop, and you could stop the lift a little bit, especially if you were in the company of a young lady. It gave you 30 seconds of probably just a wee peck in the cheek, but it seemed quite daring at the time. But that was always quite good, and it was a good laugh. The characters and the people, and there was a woman, of course, as in all things, there was an older woman worked there, and she was the cleaner in the place, can't quite remember her name, but she was related to me through family connections to my family in Denny, and I think it was her brother who was married to one of my connections in Denny. So there was always a wee bit of a natural camaraderie there, and an unexpected one. But she was lovely, she was great, always a smile on her face, and it was a very happy and cheerful place to work. Well, some people said that Cumbernauld was based on a Italian hilltop type towns, villages, and to a large extent, I guess, that would be true. But for me, it was the excitement of getting on a bus from Denny to go up through to this place far away called Cumbernauld, and you went up I think it was called the Wilderness Brae, and you went into Carbrain or Kildrum and got off the bus, and then you were talking to people. So all of that was new. It was exciting. You know, people that travelled by bus at that time, wasn't to say it was ridiculously far, but it seemed like that as a young boy. And so from that point of view, it was interesting. Knew some of the people that travelled on the bus, lived beside me, worked in Burrows and Cumbernauld, chats with them in the morning, and then latterly I would get a lift from somebody in an old car with an old banger, and ended up buying my own motorbike to travel up and down to over a period of, I don't know, it must have been, 3 or 4 years. But the original town centre was just like wooden huts that were built temporarily to attract the businesses before the old towns, or the new town centre as it was then, was built. So that was basically a big concrete building. And I think at the time, I think it was grand, it was brand new, bus stops underneath it, it's an air of excitement. Finding your way about it was a bit of a problem to begin with, but nevertheless, it was an exciting place to work in. Penthouses were actually just above where I worked, so there was connecting arches or walkways to them. And again, that was connected to, I think it was called the Golden Eagle Hotel. That was a big hotel there as well, just can't quite remember. I was too young to actually go into the hotel, or the bar I should say, but that was my recollection at the time. The penthouses were above the shops, people lived in there. I don't know if I ever met anybody from there, probably did. But yeah, the people lived in it, and I think the town centre management probably had their offices there as well. I think once I might have been invited up to see them. Can't quite recollect it, but I think once probably one of the customers that came into the salon probably took a couple of us up to see it, but probably didn't appreciate what they were like at the time. But from memory, yeah, I could see them above where the where we worked. And then some of the other anecdotes I had at the time, again, mainly came from the people I worked with. Some of them I could repeat, some of them I couldn't repeat. It was hard to know how things affect you. I think, first of all, looking back, you don't actually know what you know until you come out of a situation, and then you learn from that. So what you do learn is you learn how to be a good listener without even trying to be a good listener. So that's one of the aspects of it. Another aspect of it was listening to and working with people from different areas. So you would get people from Glasgow, you'd get people from Cumbernauld, people from Kilsyth, all working in that area. So you were getting great different parts of the country that you hadn't really mixed with before, because you'd grown up in a very localised, well-known to each other community. So that broadened your horizons to how people work. And then you would hear stories about people on the bus, you would hear them talking about working in boroughs and the American way of working. Then you would hear that when you were working in the salon, you were listening to people talk about where they work, how they work, and the finances, things that I'd never really been aware of before. It's a different way, different level of conversation, I think, from the normal situation I worked in Denny and Bonnybridge, for example. So you learn a lot just by listening. As I say, you don't actually know what you know until you look back in it years ago. So it does help to shape you, there's no doubt about that. Your formative years are these ages when you start to work from 15-year-old, 16, 17. You're working on a daily basis with people from all sorts of walks of life.